Okay, so today we're going to be talking about time management. Now, time management is a very important skill to have when you're in college because you need to be able to prioritize. You need to be able to organize your time so that you get everything done. Okay, organization is very key to being successful. Okay, in other words, let's say typical course load for a college student is 5 classes. Okay, you have to be able to make sure that you get all of the work done for each of those classes. Now, sometimes the work is going to be heavier in one class than another, so you could spend more time studying for the one. Other times you're going to get, like around midterms and finals, you're going to get work for all of them compiled on top of each other. You can't just say, well, I was working on my biology class, so I'm sorry I didn't get the English paper in, because professors are understanding, but they expect that you do the work for their class. Okay. One of the complaints that students will always make is, well, professors seem to think I'm only taking their class. Well, it's not that they only think that you're taking their class. They know that you have other classes as well, but they expect you to be able to function and manage your time so that you get the work done for all of them. Okay. So I'm going to show you 2 techniques for time management. The first one we're going to go over is for a kind of a long-term time management technique, so that you can look at the semester from as a way to as a whole, and this will be a way for you to kind of make sure that you're on target for making sure that everything you have to do over the whole semester is done. And then the second technique we're going to show is a week-by-week kind of thing, where you're going to schedule out how your time needs to be used. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to show you, this is something that my wife actually found helpful in college, and so I asked her if she would let me borrow this for the class. And what she used to do when she was a college student, she would have at the beginning of the semester, she would take her syllabus and she would go through the whole syllabus, because on the syllabus it tells you when every project is due and when every test is, or when it's scheduled for. And then she would write it out at a checklist. Okay, so for example, in spring of 2006, she was taking 5 courses. She was taking the history of New York, modern literature, Shakespeare, global dilemmas, and effective public speaking. Okay. Now, each of those courses had different requirements. They all had tests, they all had exams, they all had papers, they all had journals and that sort of stuff, but were all due times. Okay. So what she would do is she broke it down into a checklist. Okay. So for the history of New York class, the professor required a number of exams, some journals, a book review. He required that we went on a walking tour and did a report on that. So these things were listed in the syllabus in different places. So what my wife did was she said, okay, journal 1 and 2 are due first. Then the next day is the exam. Then journal 3 is due a week or 2 after that. So she would put what the item is and then when it was due. And she broke it down for each class. And every time the date passed, or the assignment passed, because sometimes the professors move the due dates a little bit, she would check off the item. Actually, what she would do is she would check it off when she had completed it, and then cross it out when it had been turned in. Okay. What she did was she broke it down by 5 classes. So in this class, this is due, then this is the next class, this is the next class. What I would find a little more helpful for me personally, is to just have a master checklist that would show this for this class, then the next day this for this class, then the next day this for, because it's a little more chronological. But either way is fine, whichever one you find the most useful. This is basically so that you don't get surprised. At the beginning of the semester, your professors always tell everything that is required for you to get an A in the course. So there should be no surprises. Okay, that's what the syllabus is. It's only through not being organized that you lose track of those things. So this technique is a way to help you stay organized, think logically about when your assignments are due, when you have to prepare for these things. Okay, so what I want you to do is make up a list like this and email me a copy, as well as print yourself a copy and post it somewhere on your wall, by your computer, somewhere, and then check it off as the assignments go through, so that you have a way of keeping track of things. Okay, so that's technique number one. That's the long term. That's over the course of the entire semester, all 12 weeks. But time management is not always about thinking long term, about planning weeks in advance. Sometimes it's about planning days, day to day, or hour to hour, or even minute to minute. Sometimes you say, okay, well, I'm going to study for an hour on my English class, and then I really need to study on math, so I'll maybe take another hour for hour and a half for math. But maybe I should do math first because that's a little more important, and all that sort of thing. So you have to kind of negotiate how to meet all of your obligations in terms of studying. But that doesn't mean that you're only studying. I mean, many of you will have work. Obviously, you can't be studying for class while you're in class. There are other obligations, family obligations, housework needs to be done. You should get some sleep. Not always possible in school, but you should certainly endeavor to get a good night's sleep. And other kinds of obligations. So the other part of your assignment for this week is going to be, I've posted on Blackboard a template, and it's a grid from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's got all 5 days, okay? And on this grid, what I want you to do is, it's broken down by half hour on the left-hand side. I want you to list what you are doing in that half hour, okay? What kinds of space things you're doing. Now you want to block out where you're going to class, your travel time. You're going to block out work. You're going to block out housework, family obligations. You're going to block out religious obligations, other kinds of things, and of course sleep. Each of these is going to be color coded, and I put the color code on the side. And what you're going to do is you're going to end up having a grid that shows all of the time that is spoken for, that you can't really, that you have to have, okay? You have to be in class from 9 to 10 in the morning if your class meets from 9 to 10 in the morning. So that time is spoken for. If you go to church on Sunday and church goes from 10:30 to noon, you have to be in church. You have to block off 10:30 to noon. That time is spoken for church. You also need to consider how much time it takes you to get to where you need to go. For example, I live pretty far away. I live up in Yonkers. And to get to work in the morning, I have to be here for 9 a.m. And so it takes me about 2 hours. I usually catch a 7 o'clock train out of my neighborhood. So I would have to block off 2 hours of traveling to go to work. What'll be left will be all this white space here, okay? And what this white space is downtime, okay? Time that's not spoken for. That's time that's kind of miscellaneous. Now, some of you will have an awful lot of that, and that's good, because that means that you have a lot of time to do all sorts of things. So if you have a lot of white space on your thing, and on your grid, and you have trouble finding time to study, well, that's your time to study. That's the white space is time that's not planned out. So that's the time that you can study. You may be doing other things at the time, but you can block that out. Maybe it's not as important to go watch TV or whatever you end up doing with that time. You need to block that out for studying. If you don't have a lot of white space, this is where it gets a little trickier, because you already have a very set schedule. Your time is already blocked into increments that are pretty set, and you can't really move them. This is where it gets more challenging, and this is where you have to. This is where time management comes into play. That's it's very critical, because you have to be able to maximize the time that you have. Okay. Some of the techniques that we usually recommend. You can think about multitasking. Okay, for study. For example, let's say you take the subway to get to school or to get to work or whatnot. That's time that's kind of spoken for, because that's travel time. But that's not time that you are engaged in some sort of activity. Okay, that's time that you're sitting on the subway. So what I used to do when I was in graduate school, I would use that time to read, okay, because I would have an hour, 2 hours to get to Kingsborough, and an hour to get from Kingsborough to where I was going for my my grad program. So I would get all of this reading done on the train, okay, and it was pretty fantastic. Another opportunity for multitasking would be if you get assigned reading like on a PDF file, you can actually set it so that it will read to you. Okay, so another trick that I used was I would have the computer actually read me my article while I was cooking dinner or something along those lines. So multitasking is one option if your schedule is pretty set. The other option is, of course, sacrificing something. A lot of times students end up sacrificing sleep, which is why I said it's difficult to block out sleep. But this is really not the most healthy thing to do, okay? Because you need to, in order to function, you need to have a good meal. You need to keep your energy up. You need to be well rested. Otherwise, you're heading for a crash. I can't tell you how many times I've seen students who their work does not equal their capability, and it's because they can't devote the amount of time that they need to work and to do their schoolwork and to take care of their physical needs, eating and sleeping. They may need to work 2 jobs and be a full-time student, and then that doesn't leave any time for them to take care of themselves. So then they get sick and something breaks. Okay, so it's very important to try to multitask. Try to manage your time. If you need to sacrifice something, you need to figure out where that sacrifice is going to be. But the ultimate point here is that time management is going to be very critical to your success, because you need to be organized so that you can attack things in a logical way and get everything done. Okay, so your assignment is twofold. One, produce that checklist of all of your assignments. So I want you to take out all of your syllabi from all of your classes, and I want you to write down a list of all of the things that are required for each class and their due dates. And I also want you to download this template, and you're going to use the template to here it is. You're going to use the template to plan out your week by week kind of thing. The color coding is on the left-hand side. Anytime that you are in school or doing classwork, you're going to color code that yellow. Work is red. Travel is going to be green. Chores or housework is going to be blue. Family obligations is going to be purple. Religious obligations is going to be orange, and sleeping is going to be brown. Okay, so that's available in the course documents section, and have a good week.